So let's speak about CI/CD, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. Now, the first thing about CI/CD is that it's two terms. It's confusing. It's confusing for a lot of people who are not web dev, even people who are in web development. All this jargon doesn't really help. Behind the scene, fundamentally, it's a simple concept, but there's so many tools and technologies, it's not easy to understand. Even if you follow the tutorials, blah blah blah, it's not going to be. So I'm going to just explain what's happening here with CI/CD. Continuous integration is, to put it simply, it's putting all your work on one branch and making sure it's up to the standards. Okay, so there is 5 developers working on something. They'll all merge their stuff into a branch, and continuous integration can be triggered. What I mean by that, it can be triggered, it means it can um, run something in the background and make sure your code is up to the standards. It can format the code for you a little bit. It can run the tests and all that, but this is all this is doing. It'll spin up a computer for you, a separate computer. Okay, it's gonna run all these checks, because let's look at it this way: when there's so many people working on something, they will make mistakes, and we want to make sure. We don't want to go to their each look at each person's code and make sure this is working, that is working. um there is no syntax errors and all that stuff. We don't want to do that because we want to save time. So continuous integration is just spinning up a computer and making sure things are how they should be. Okay, so if you follow a certain standard of code, you can apply that standard uh, on their code. What we're doing here, we're just integrating everyone's code. Okay, that's all we're doing. So now, how does that happen? It happens when something runs. Okay, you merge code into into a branch, and something runs. It's like a computer that starts running, pulls your code, checks it out, and make sure everything is okay. Now this stuff is happening in a separate computer. It's not happening on your server. It's not happening on your main server where the website is running. It's a separate computer. So it's happening on a separate computer. If everything's okay, the request goes through. If it's not okay, then it won't happen. It'll be rejected, and you can see in the logs what happened, why did it happen. So there is that. Okay, continuous integration. Now, when the stuff is ready, everyone code is on one branch. It's ready, it has been checked, it has been compiled, there is no errors. Okay, the tests have run. Okay, there is no weird things happening. The security scans have happened. Once all this has happened, we can deploy. Okay, these are two different things. First, you do integration of all the branches or everyone's code. If that is okay, you can deploy it. That's a separate thing. Deployment is oh, now you can deploy it manually. You can git pull and all that stuff, but with CI/CD, the CD part is generally happens automatically. It can pull the code, the CD part, it can pull the code onto your main server or your staging site or something like that. Okay, so you got the integration part happening first, and then you got the deployment part happening after that. Okay, so these are two different things. So for example, let me give you a real life example. So when you can integrate your code with git actions, okay, what will happen? You can create a git action, which is just a script. You can tell the script, hey, whenever someone merges their code into this branch, check out that code into this little server that you're going to spin up on fly, and make sure everything is okay in that code. Okay, run these scripts, right? So git action can do that for you. Okay, you don't have to pay for the server that git action is going to spin, and it'll do that for you. It'll pass or it'll fail. Okay, if it passes, then you can trigger as a CD would simply mean continuous deployment. It's a fancy word, but all you're doing is, Okay, the code worked, everything's okay. Now it's time to push the code to the server. Now you will have a separate script. It can be in Git action, but you can have a script that will pull the code onto your server. Now you done the checks, all the checks that would normally take you so long. Okay, then you have pushed the code to the server. Okay, that's all this is. Okay, this sounds fancy, but this is literally it. Okay, now you can have um, you can build your code in a Docker image, but that's a separate thing. CI/CD fundamentally is what I just explained to you.